Howdy, Beefalo Bart here, and welcome. A little late getting started, but I'm here. Okay, so as the title suggests there, working on a shooter template, third-person shooter template, and I got very little done so far, but meet my target dummy. No other assets in here but the simple multiplayer Steam template that I made and the animation starter pack, which I'm retargeting to the regular normal default mannequin, just to simplify things. You shoot the bad guy, and this will be applied to the player as well, and get a hit reaction out of him. You notice whenever the hit reaction goes on, it's actually the hip fire one. I didn't have another hip reaction here. So you hit F right now, you go into the first person view, and you can shoot. There's a slight delay on the shooting, so you can't just sit there and spam it, but it's still relatively quick, like semi-automatic. While you're in this mode, you can crouch, and I will set up the replication as I go. Get certain things done, I'll come back and replicate. But you can shoot, you can crouch, get back up, you can still jump. You can jump from crouch, that kind of stuff. Hit the F key to come back out of combat, and you're back into your regular unarmed animation. I'll probably set up some other animations in here, like to pull out a weapon, things of that nature. The reason why I went with the first person view, and I can take that out just for right now, is because right now I'm using a line trace coming from the camera, so that there is no aim offset or whatever. Wherever your camera is looking at is where you're going to shoot, and it doesn't affect the aim space while you're in this mode right here. Still early on in making this template, so you can see the it actually spawns from in front of the player. So it's right there in front of the player, so it doesn't actually hit the player. It's not spawning from the camera, it's spawning from a scene component that's put in front of the character from the actual camera. And you cannot shoot while you're out of combat mode. And what I'll do is I'll probably go ahead and do a right click for scope mode, and then no weapons at this point. This is just a raw template that I'm putting together. If I think it's good enough, and I'll let some other people test it out, and in play format, not actually give out the files, then the actual thing will be given to my dev team for us to actually set up features. This is for a shooter. Would probably do the same thing for a hack and slash, to where whenever you're in the combat mode, you can probably stay in third person mode. You don't have to worry about the camera. You can still hit the V key to change camera modes, so you can look down and actually see yourself. I'm going to change the way the camera operates. Probably set up a camera boom. But once I get the actual thing set up to where it's the way I like it. So I don't like the way the camera is set up right now, because if you're in this mode and you're running around, occasionally you'll get some camera bobbling, and you can kind of see it right there. It kind of jerky. That's just the nature of the beast, of where the camera is located. It's attached to the head right now, and set to where it's going to be pretty much like your normal view. Still got to work on the timing on that. You can see it's just vibrating. I don't like that that shoot animation. So I'll probably end up pulling it back out. I don't like it. But that's that so far, and just kind of working on things. It's like the hip fire. I'm just gonna take that out. I don't like it. It just doesn't flow well. So I'll go back into my actual hip fire animation blueprint, and just go to the event graph. I've got the crouching set up. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the hip fire, just because, like I said, I don't like it. From this point, I would like to add in the death for the character. I haven't got the players killable yet, and that's not as high on the food chain right now until I get the replication set on the animations, so that whenever you actually go into this mode, then, and that's just the shooting stuff right there, you hit F to go into combat mode. The combat mode's gonna, right now it sets can shoot to true. It sets your animation instance class to the hipfire animation blueprint, and then it sets combat mode to true, changes to FPS view, and enables the crosshair. And then whenever you go into passive mode, it sets can shoot to false, puts you back into the third person animation blueprint, which is your unarmed state, turns off combat mode. And I put the crouch button down because crouch doesn't work in the normal sense right now, because it's set up, the crouch is only one from the animation starter pack, and your crouch animation shows you holding a weapon. So that's no bueno. I'll have to come up with another animation that's unarmed crouch animation. But it puts you back into your third person view and turns off the crosshair. And the crosshair function is just that. It lets you enable the crosshair. Now I could actually come back over here to my view stuff, like hit view to go into first person view, and I can actually, from this one, just enable crosshairs with the custom event that I created, and then from here I can just disable it whenever you go back into third person view, and you can just do that by use crosshair and set it to false. The widget blueprint for the crosshair is actually going to turn it off. So now if you go in here and you're playing, you can hit V and you get the crosshair. This is an actual crosshair, but you cannot shoot in this mode. I may enable that just so I can do testing wise, because I tend to hit the V quite often to change it in, but for right now, that's what you get. And you get death animation, and 5 seconds later the corpse disappears. So that's that. So like I said, if you're crouching, if you're in this mode and you crouch and you decide you want to get out of this mode and go back into your passive, it just throws you back in here and turns off that animation. Because it is 2 separate animation blueprints, probably, if it was just going to be a combat only, then I'd probably end up just getting rid of the unarmed animation blueprint. It may not be necessary for everything. That way you can actually go around there. You're still holding your weapon, but I would say if you hit, like, you'd have to be in combat mode the whole time. I said I'll experiment with different things. With this one right here, there is no death coming off of this animation blueprint. So if we set the bot actually to be in, I'll go my character blueprints, the bot base, and if I actually told it to, instead of using this animation blueprint, to actually use the hipfire animation blueprint, you won't die now, because in my event graph I've got everything set up to work normally, and everything is based off of the other animation blueprint. And it's kind of hard right now. You would end up having to, oh god, you're gonna have to bridge off of crouch and crouch, walk and jog, and there's got to be a branch that goes off to the death for everything. So if I want that to actually work, right now it's cast a character and cast 2-player base. At this point I would actually have to break it off, and I can't use cast 2 character and set is, he just doesn't find the is dead. I've got is dead question mark there. I don't have it in the player base just yet, but that's just a matter of doing is dead question mark. But still, I mean, it's not going to work because it's a cast 2 character node, and cast 2 character nodes are great for applying damage. So like in your setup right here for applying damage, it applies damage, and if whatever you shot can take damage, then you can do it that way. You could also do a cast to character, and it'll only apply damage to characters, but just doing apply damage is just going to apply damage, and doesn't matter who you're shooting or what you're shooting. That way, if you've got destructible meshes, then you can actually create the destructible mesh to be able to destroy once you actually did it, and you can only do that with apply damage, not with casting to the character and applying damage. So looking at this, we would need to then, where I've got cast to player base, and I don't need that extra pin right now. I will, so I'm going to leave it in there. But I'm going to go ahead and just drag off from here. I'm going to grab all this stuff, move it forward. I'll move it back at some point. But at this, it's casting to the character to get the rotation, velocity, and all the stuff for your jumps and whatnot. So for right here is where I need to break it with a sequence. So we have our cast to character, and that's going to work. I wish cast to character would work here, but you know what? Cast to bot base, and then I just bring it down here. And since we already have this guy, try get pawn owner, we can drag that in there as the object reference, and that'll work. I'm just going to move these guys up just a hair so I don't run into things. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to get is dead, and we're just going to go into here and create a variable called dead. Why are you giving me an error there? There's no error there. Shut up. So from the bot base, we're going to get is dead, and we'll end up doing that from here as well. And I can go ahead and do that. Get is dead. And I know that I'm going to have to lower this crapola down. So we're going to get is dead, and we're just to set dead there. So on this one we can go ahead and just, since we only have the one, set is dead. No, sorry, we can just drag this in here and set dead that way. Now, with this, whenever I go to do a respawn system, like this one right here, I would actually come off of this, and I'm not going to respawn bots. Not worried about them respawning. So, on a branch, we're going to, instead of setting dead there, we want to come from the sequence node and get our branch, and we want to go ahead and do set is dead. So if it's true, it's true. And if it's false, it's false. Because that will then let us do our respawn. If we're setting is dead to false, then we can go back from the dead state and go back into an alive state. Right? Okay. So this is what we need for killing our player if they're in that animation system. So compost and save, go to our locomotion, and from right now we're only going to do it off of idle, because what I want to do is add a state, call it death, and in death we want to do the death animation, and we'll link that to here. And then go back to our locomotion to get to dead or death. Then we have to get is dead, And if that's true, then we can do that animation. Then we want to go from death to another state, dead. From there, we want to run our dead animation, which is something I created earlier. It's just the last frame of the death one animation, and I created a new animation based off of that. So to get to dead state, we need to get a ratio. So essentially, we want to get the time remaining of the animation itself, and we want to make sure that it's within or less than a tenth of a second. So when we get done doing the death animation, we go directly into this animation. And then to get back into this, we want to, since we don't have a get up from dead animation, we just as well go ahead and stick this in here, get is dead, and type in not, and it'll be the not boolean, because it's not boolean cubes, and compost and save. Now in theory, if we come in here and now he's in this mode, what in the hell? Okay, we got that wrong somewhere. In the event graph, we need to connect that because we didn't connect the thing, so we instantly just killed ourselves. In other words, so as we go into combat mode, we were dropping out and going to the death state. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, but there's no hit reaction. So I'm going to have to come back in here and add the hit reaction in. And this, we don't need hip fire. I took that out. Why does it say I need it? No, because it's still right here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I don't need the hip fire. So we got our death. That's no problem. That's working. But we need to go ahead and just do a... let's add a variable in called shot to let us know that we were shot. And we drag off from here. And essentially we're just going to add state shot, go into it, and so go ahead and put in my hit reaction. Hit react 1. And these are retargeted from the animation starter pack. So to get to and from this state, to get to this state, we need to get shot. And I would assume, unless I can come up with another way, let's go ahead and do that, and we'll just do for now shot, not boolean, and just shove it in there. I got to come up with a better way of doing that, because that involves having to actually put in the event graph. Why does this say an error? There's no error. Shut up. Get bot base, and let's go ahead and run another sequence here so we can break that. Still do that. Excuse me. Would you just move? Thank you. So now we can actually get let's see, shot, get got shot. So if get got shot was true, then we can set that there. In fact, let's actually run that as on a branch node. So if we got shot, then we can set them here. True is true and false is false. So this is going to allow our to and fro animations. In theory, should work now. So if I go back in here, and since this guy is now in the idle animation, hit react, 3 and 4 times getting shot, and he's dead, and poof, you disappear. So, never saw this before, but go ahead and hit play again. We have 34 actors. Now, we kill our actor, and we have, okay, there's 32 actors now. Hit play, 34 actors. I saw where it added into the World Outliner. Deleted actor showed up in there. 34 and 32. We got deleted actor shows up twice. Never noticed that before. Well, it works. So we can actually shoot our player or characters, and at this point it's just the bot, and there's a hit react. So that's lovely. I guess let's take a look at. We'll come back to setting up the player death later. I want to set up on the right mouse button. Right mouse button. Let's set up the widget for the scope mode. Go to my images folder and actually put this in a folder by itself. Scope mask. Now this scope mask is actually available on my Discord channel. I'm just going to drag that in here. Save all, and it's there. Go into my widgets, and let's create a new widget. Scope _W. So we're going to go into it, and then come back, go to that image folder, grab my duplex, and that's for a duplex style scope. And I'm just going to grab an image, and I'm going to anchor that to full screen. And zero out that. And there we go. Now we have our masked off scope crosshair. And let's add a variable. Use scope mask. Nice and simple. And then we'll come in here to our graph, and again it's going to run off an event tick. I need to come up with a better way for this as well, but what we're going to do is cast to player underscore base. Want to get player character it is raining and it's cold outside. Gets any colder it would have been nice because we had some damn snow. We almost never get snow here. So get use scope mask. And we'll run our branch. And if that are the case on false, then remove from parent. Simple enough. So when we say no, we're not going to use it, then we can get rid of it. So that's our scope mask, and on our right mouse button, well, first I'll go ahead and run a flip-flop, and let's just go ahead and set use scope mask. I'm going to set that to true, and then on B we're going to set it to false. Now we're going to add some more stuff in here now. I just want to go ahead and get it functional. and I can actually, don't need to run it off of it, but scope mask, don't have to do this, but I'm gonna anyway. From this custom event, what we want to do is create, and actually we can delete, well, I'm gonna leave it in there. You can put it in this, or you can leave it there. It doesn't really matter. But let's create a widget, which is our scope widget, and of course get player controller and add to viewport. So for now, just hitting the right mouse button is going to turn on and off. Doesn't matter what mode we're in yet. We want to right click and cause it to do that. And now we can actually put in scope mask, because that would actually be helpful, since I didn't want to put this up there, and there's no reason to actually do this. So let's actually just sure that it'll work either way. Yes, being neat and clean means something to me. So now just hitting the right mouse button will turn it on and back off again. So on, off, on, off. Okay. So another thing you can do here is set it to where it only works whenever you can shoot. And since we're getting it from here as well, and the left mouse button is asking can shoot. So what we're doing here was setting can shoot inside of our combat mode, and we can, I guess, set in here can use scope. So when we're doing this, we would just need to run a branch. Just gonna shove this out of the way for now, and run a branch. And let's just go ahead and make another variable. Use scope, and then we'll just plug that in here. So we're going to ask, can we use it? And if we can use it, then we can go through with the rest of the stuff here. Yeah. So when we go into our combat mode, I'm going to set that here, saying that we can use it. So let's see if I've forgotten anything else here. So right click does nothing, go into combat mode, and then we actually need to turn off the other crosshair now, because, well, we don't need that. So let's do that. Well, let's verify that. Go in and out, no problem. Now you can see it's still working even though we came back out. So let's, since we're in this already, let's go ahead and make sure we tag that in here. See if that actually gets rid of that, because we want to make sure that we get rid of that scope mask if we come out of combat mode. So if we're actually in combat mode, we're using the scope, and we hit F to come back out of it, it pulls it away from us. And there we go. So let's go back to this. So when we use our scope mask, we want to set use crosshair, which is the other crosshair, to false, which should then get rid of that. But we're probably going to have to do something else to make sure we enable it again. So we go into this mode and come back out of that mode. It's fine. We go into this mode, gets rid of it, come back, and we want to go ahead and I guess put in here crosshairs so it actually redraws it. Because we're still technically in combat mode. So we're in this mode, go into scope, crosshair goes away, and comes back. So now what we want to do here is even more cool stuff. Let's grab our FPS camera, because that's what we're using at this point, and set field of view, and let's push that bastard up to 20, or down to 20, however you want to look at it. 20. Same thing here. Let's get a reference to our FPS camera. So we go back into this mode. We want to set field of view. The default rating for your field of view is 90. So we want to set it back to 90. At some point I'll actually create a variable system for remembering what the default is, but it's not that big of a deal. So if we come in here, go into combat mode, and activate our scope, we can zoom in. Now I can get rid of the line trace. I don't need a line trace on here anymore. I'm not really getting rid of the line trace, I'm just getting rid of the visibility, which I have set here. So none. We don't actually have a projectile spawning, and although it would be nice, go into combat mode, go into scope mode. We don't have a muzzle flash. We don't have any of the fancy junk. So that's the problem there, because crosshair is being drawn there. That's the joy of doing all this, is knowing that when you come out of scope mode, you're redrawing the crosshairs. Whenever you come out of combat mode, you have to make sure that use crosshairs is false. So you have to go through and just intentionally try to break stuff. So it works going in and out of combat mode. I zoom in and it's broke. So, let's go into combat mode, and now we're zoomed in. See, adding field of view changes. At this point, it's probably best to go ahead and set this up as a custom event. So when you run it, it's going to do all this stuff in a custom event instead of off the right mouse button. Because now you got to go back through here and chase. Okay, on right mouse button, when we disengage the right mouse button, we're setting field of view, we're turning our crosshairs back on, and that's good. But now we need to come back over here and probably force, when we go back into passive mode, since we're having to put all this other stuff in here, use crosshairs, use scope, just to be on the safe side. Set use crosshair as defaults, but we can actually grab the same thing, do our FPS camera, and set field of view 90. If it's already 90, it's not going to matter all that much. But if it's not, then we need to force it back into that. What I'll do is I'll come back through here and I'll break a lot of this stuff down as custom events so that I can have more finite control. Like I did with my view change. I created, okay, if I go to FPS view, this is what happens. And this is probably where I need to do this also in third person view. When I go back to that, I need to probably set this here, use scope mask to false. So we can't actually do that when we go into third person view. And that's pretty much what we're doing. When we're coming out of combat mode, we're going back into a third person view. So we're going to passive mode, we're changing our animation, we're setting can shoot defaults, combat mode defaults, crouch button defaults, crosshair scope defaults, and we're going to third person view. If we're going to go to third person view, we don't need those two there, and we don't need that. We can actually put that up here in our view change. So we go to third person view. We need to ensure that we are setting our FPS camera and field of view here. But that's the key thing, is troubleshooting, going back through and saying, okay, can I do this here? Can I do that there? What happens when I do this? I want to force myself to do that, and setting up those constraints. So now if you go into combat mode, go into scope mode, kill our bot, has hit reactions, death animation, and despawns after 5 seconds. But if I hit F and come back, it forced away my crosshair and my scope all at the same time. Go back into it. Let's go back in here again and FPS view. Let's make sure that we're doing that as well. Setting our field of view back to, oh shit, we didn't set anything in here, 90. So we're confirming that no matter what, when we go back into a third person or first person view, we're forcing our views back into a default state. So now go into combat mode, come out of combat mode, go into scope mode, go directly out of combat mode. That works. So just troubleshooting, just trying to make sure that whenever we go in our scope mode, we can actually go in there and shoot and kill our guy. And despawn. Come back out. And the one thing I notice is now whenever I hit F to go back in there, it works. And go back in here, I have to hit the right mouse button twice, because it's forcing things back and forth, and you have to keep adding in all these different variables on each event, like using your crosshair or using your scope or your stuff. So you have to look whenever you're setting up all your variables, like going into combat mode, set can shoot, set combat mode, I set my animation, I put myself in first person view and turn on the crosshair and allow myself to use the scope. So we can do the same thing here, grab this and set can use scope to false when we go back to our passive mode. Shouldn't need to, but we're going to do it anyway. How the heck is everybody doing this evening? You can shoot in this mode, or you can go into zoom mode and shoot that way. There's no hit markers yet. There's no, so there's no other assets in here. So anything that I put in here is going to be something. If I hit a character, so that's whenever you come back in here, your line trace, and when you're applying damage, you can actually do the same thing here, and you're playing your sound, and before applied damage, you come in here and run a sequence. So you can start doing other things at the same time. We have confirmed that we have hit our target, and now we want it to apply damage, but we can also do this, come off from here and cast to actually no, instead of that we can actually go to our impact point, and we can spawn a decal or a sprite or something of that nature, like a hit marker. At that point, we can also do an emitter if we have like a custom event for an explosion or a blood splatter or something of that nature. I don't really have anything in here right now as a hit marker. So I don't know what I'm going to add in here for a hit marker. I could probably just make something. Actually, I've got a blood splatter. It's a little bit on the large side, but it'll get the point across. Let's see here. I'm just going to throw in a generic hit marker. This is, not exactly a good hit marker. I mean, it's 100 by 100. I mean, it's just an X. But to apply that hit marker, all you're doing here is, if you want to, you can do all kind of stuff like this, but I'm going to, for right now, off of my impact point, I'm going to get world location, but I don't need to. The impact point is going to give me the location, and I want to, let's actually make that into a sprite. The head marker, right click, sprite actions, create sprite. And like I said, that's all that is, just an X. Definitely would want a better hit marker. Would probably rather have an emitter, so that whenever you hit a certain object, you can set up a muzzle, like a spark effect or a little puff of smoke to say that's where the bullet hit. So if I did sprite, or image, download image. That's something totally different. Download image allows you to actually store an image on a website or retrieve one from a website and actually display that there. Something for a whole different video. So impact point, you definitely want something. Image. I'm using an emitter, like spawn emitter from, like spawn. You got spawn AI, spawn sounds at locations, things like that. This is where having a particle effect would be better anyway. Like spawn emitter at location would be great. Spawn detail at location. And that, then we would try to damn, no. Let's actually get rid of that sprite for now. And hit marker, create material. Let's see what that does. So we're coming here from our then one. We can set our decal size there as well. So let's do the impact point is the location. Rotation, there we're gonna have to see, because that's something that and you see you get three-dimensional aspect right there. Yes, we're probably gonna have to give that a size. What is the size that it's saying that it is? Well, we'll just try it at decal material. I'm sorry. Let's do hit marker matte, and let's try it without anything in the size and see if it just draws a default size. It helps to actually put that back in there. Yeah, rotation is something else here also. Impact point, location. Getting the rotation can be interesting, and one of the ways I've been working on that is actually getting the transform from your forward vector for the line trace. Yeah, that's not exactly what I was trying to do. Interesting effect. Yeah, let's try that a little bit differently. It's nice spawning decals this way, but like I said, I would stick with a. So you go. I mean, you could do the same thing right here for if hit character, you're spawning a decal. You see, it's not sticking with them. Reason why this is actually something that's kind of cool is you could actually set that up to where so you've got an image. Let's actually look at the thing here, and it's actually just creating a material. I don't want really a material this way. Next texture sample would actually go with an actual image. But it's pulling from materials. It doesn't show any of my textures, and I would rather have textures. But decal material, you could actually make your material from that, but having the actual emitter is my favorite way of doing things. And I don't have any emitters in here. If I had starter content, which I might as well for now, and go to add component. No, excuse me. Go back out of here. Add new. Feature content pack. Content. Starter content. And there you go. So I'll add that in there just so I can get an effect and actually apply that as a hit marker. Takes just a minute to do this. And I kind of wanted to put the starter content in here just as a to have these walls so you could set up a sample map that actually is more than just a wide open space like this. So from here, we'll go ahead and spawn emitter at location. You could do attached, but that would mean you need to go ahead and get a reference to where you're actually hitting, like your hit bone name. You can actually have it report back and say if you hit the head, and then if you set up a different thing for if you hit the head, then do this. Impact point, location, emitter, and we'll just tie it in as sparks for right now. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Would actually go in there and make my own custom emitter. You see that just continuously loops. You just want a little small spark. So what I'll do here is I go into my starter content and my particles. I'm going to grab sparks and I'm going to duplicate that one. And I'm going to call this impact spark. And we'll just do P impact sparks. And then what I'll do is I go into it and going to click on required, scroll down, emitter loops. I'm going to change this to 1 and then hit save. And then same thing here, sparks, 1, save. I'm clicking on the required right here, and then 1 and save. And this is going to make our own new emitter. So now I can come in here and do impact spark. So now we go in here and shoot. Well, it's still looping for a long period of time. We don't want that. Emitter loops is 1. Emitter duration is 1. Let's try changing that to 0.2. And same thing here, 0.2, save, and required 0.2, save. Might actually want the smoke to last for just a hair longer, for half second. Not the best emitter, but you could always go back in here also. And even though this is, you know, got the sparks in it, nope, we want the smoke. What if we actually got rid of this? May not be deleted. Okay. We'll do the duration of 0.1. Try to minimize it as much as possible on the sparks. And on the smoke, leave that at half second. Spark burst, 0.1. We just want just a little bit of a poof. You could set it up with doing the same thing. That's actually kind of cool. But like this, you can actually scale it down 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. So it's half the size. Rotation, if you want to get kind of a start on that, you got your forward vector right here. And you can actually, let's see. Let me break the vector. I want the rotation off that. So I guess, you know, off a forward vector, I want the rotation. Let's see, rotate vector. Find to look at rotator. That's good for turrets. Unrotate vector. Essentially what you're going to end up having to do is get the actual... Let's actually go ahead and get... Get world rotation, and what you'll end up having to do is take that world rotation and you're going to have to reverse it. Because if you leave it like this, what's going to happen is it's going to be fine. for there, but what's happening is it's using that. That forward vector, or that forward rotation, or the world rotation there. You're actually trying to get that and plug that into the emitter location. Not easy to get just right, because when you're doing it, you want it to, if you're hitting a character, you want it to hit and reverse, so it's looks like the sparks are coming back towards you. In most cases, I just go ahead and leave it this way for now. I like that. I would actually probably also come back in here off of smoke, because you've got that smoke is nice. You should come back in here and make rotate. Yeah, you want it to actually reverse back, and right now I'm just unwinding. Yeah, from the normal. Let's see here. How the hell are you, John? Don't want infinite. Let's actually loop it one time. See how that looks. Not exactly what I'm looking for, but fun. I don't have all my emitters in here. So I've got like a blood emitter and things like that. I run that off of the character. So I did that on the other project, where it's like whenever you actually hit, just cast 2 character, and you set that as the emitter, or just a standard emitter. Just, yeah, I don't like that. It's been a long day. You asshole. Why did you close my damn character? I've already freaking removed this shit. Don't want damn mannequin. I want my blueprint. Did I fucking delete the wrong one? Betcha I did. Yep, sure did. Oh shit, gotta love it. Particles. Okay, well, I ain't worried about you. Deleted the wrong freaking particle effect. So yeah, that's where I am on this. We're talking a grand total of an hour of fiddle farting around. More shit to kill. I could have just done a respawn on these guys, but whatever. They're target dummies. So yeah, that's that. Should I even scale it down to 0.5? It looks bigger on the character than it does on the wall. Yeah, these I might do until I get my other emitters in here. But I'll keep screwing around, add different weapon types. I'm not going to add any weapons into this. This is just for, you know, if I want to go ahead and drop this in, retarget it to like the Cine Studios Western pack or the Sci-Fi pack or whatever. I can just drop these in here, and the shooting system is already there and in place. And by default, you're in unarmed. So setting up basically map control. When you're in a certain map, you have no combat, so that's not going to be a thing. Set it up in the actual map to save to the player character. To basically say this is a combat map or this is a non-combat map. Set that into the player, so it'll affect the can shoot or whatever variable I set up. Of course, it always takes longer when you're talking about things versus actually just doing it. But I just kind of wanted a quick template, because the fact that I'm actually using the actual health system. Now, seeing some of these other asset packs, people keep saying, "Well, I'm trying to integrate this or trying to make this work with this asset pack." I'm like, well, quit buying those other asset packs. If they don't use a internal damage system, it's based off of a float. It's based off of this applied damage, you know, and you got apply damage. You've got event on any damage. Shit like that. You get people out there with some of these asset packs trying to reinvent the damn wheel. Let your damn damage be a float. That way, on your player character, you can set up health, replicated, and you know, it just makes sense to use that because the applied damage is going to apply damage as a float. And I've seen where someone keeps trying to get me to work with that asset pack, and they're using damage is set up as an integer. Like, why? And they created their own separate system for doing it. Whenever this works, you can replicate it. It's nothing wrong with doing apply damage or event any damage whenever you're setting up your received damage portion of it. I mean, but damage right here is a float. It's set up internally in UE4 to allow you to use it as a float system that way. And like with my health bar, because I'm using a health bar in here, the health bar is just running off of a float. So if I take damage, then I can just adjust that float. I mean, just because it's a float versus an integer, they're both numbers. Integers are just going to be whole numbers instead of fractions, whereas, I'm using on my health bar 0 to 100. 100 being max health, 0 being minimum health. And, whenever I draw it in the widget, to do is just divide by 100. Widget, that was in HUD. Player HUD. So, yeah, there's not anything in there either. So, well, go in here to get the, it's just that. You cast your player character, you get your health, you divide it by 100, and there you go into your return node for your binding for your health bar. So if you use integers, then aren't you having to... Well, I mean, I don't use fractional damage. Whenever I'm applying damage, I'm doing 25 damage or 10 damage or 100 damage. Or if I want to make sure that I kill somebody whenever it's an explosion, a landmine or a grenade or something like that, if I know that max health is 100 for all characters, I'm just going to set it to 1,000 to make sure that it definitely kills them. You don't have to. You can set it to 100, but you don't have to use the fractions just because it's a float. I use the floats because it works. Yeah, that's true because it's trying to do a fade off and like apply radial damage and damage with fall off. But when you're applying that and you set your damage radius and setting up a grenade launcher, you want to set up a damage radius and you want to set up your base damage of 100, and that's a full kill. But if the grenade lands close to somebody and it's not within the kill radius, then it's going to do less damage. So yeah, I mean it has its uses, and I just use it because it's there and it works. You know, I don't do it as an integer because then you've got to create all these other events for things that are already there and usable nodes in a blueprint. So why do an integer system whenever there's already a float system in place that works? And honestly, it's one of those things where your health is your health is your health. So if your health is less than or equal to 0, then you're dead. You know? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's personal preference. I mean, that's the good thing about Unreal Engine 4, though, is you could use whatever the hell you want to use. But I use this system, and when someone says, hey, can you modify this asset pack to work with, like, the Cindy Studios assets? Yeah, I probably can. And I have. But I prefer not to use it because it's not actually using this. I'm just getting old, and the older I get, the more finicky I get. Like, yeah, it just seems like an extra step. Like, yes, I just grab my health, get health, drag off from here, minus, so float minus float, get damage, subtract the damage from my health, and then set health, and there you go. And now, anytime I get damage, it's going to adjust my health bar. And at that point, though, I mean, I can come in here and I don't already have it set up. Custom death. And then I can come in here and float less than or equal to 0 and branch. And if that R be the case, then set is dead to true. So, you know, I set up my whole respawn system right here off of the death node so that it just runs everything all the way across. So then for now, that's all it's going to do, just to, you know, yeah, you can use clamps, clamp it to value. Yeah, sometimes I'll just I'll leave it like this, or I'll create minimum health, maximum health, that kind of stuff. So I can just drag things in. But it's just easy that I'm just checking. See right here, is your health less than 0 or equal to 0? If so, then you're freaking dead. Die, you bastard. And then if you're not, then, well, just continue doing whatever the hell you're doing. But you've already set your health to that. And then you'd want to clamp your values to make sure, like on healing, you don't go over 100 on healing or your max health on healing. I tend to not create a max health variable just simply because what if I later on I want to come back and give the player a health booster or something like that? I can come back and play with the numbers and shit, but I don't know. I never do that, but I'm just saying I might, but essentially the is-dad is set up in the animation blueprints anyway to do your death animation. So it's like with these guys, got the hit react and the death animation, and the death pose, and then it just destroys actor. Of course, that's the downside of this system is shoot him from the back and it's the same hit reaction. And yeah, I'm gonna throw some other logic on that, to where whenever you shoot something and they're in a different state, or if they're in a regular idle animation. Let's see here, blueprints, and let's just do that. Go back into the mesh, go into here, change the blueprint to third person animation blueprint. I guess I could put one of them in the freaking map. So he's just going to actually do the idle. Yeah, I like that, and I'm going to probably end up switching to that. The death animation is cool and shit, but the ragdoll just, it doesn't matter what animation pose you're in, it's just you're dead and you fall down like a ragdoll. That's where also adding an impulse to the actual shot. That way, if you hit an object that needs to knock over, you can knock it over, or things like that. So I have to go back in there, and I thought I had the shit in there in the animation blueprint. Yes, I do. But it's casting to the bot. I'd have to then create another one and go through the whole shit again. Add another pin. Probably is a way, and I just haven't explored it yet. It was bot idle. As I like the cast to character instead of casting to an individual blueprint class, then like is dead. Not responding to this. I don't care about the states of it being dead or not dead. Because when bots die, they just die. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm so sorry. Let's try to get pawn owner. I offended the gods of Unreal Engine 4. So now, yeah. Because with the death animations, you're limited. You actually have to, like, okay, I'm killing him from the front, and it looks semi-appropriate to do that, the hit reactions and that kind of stuff. But if I shoot him from the back, the hit reaction's wrong, and he falls back this way. It's counterintuitive. So, what I was looking at doing is, since let's go back to my character player, like in. Let's see here. I can do it off of this one. It's not going to matter. Print text. I guess it doesn't matter which one I'm bringing off of, but screw it up, put it on both of them. Because you can actually get the bone name. And actually use that for picking up the actual, where you're actually shooting on the player or the character in general. Headshot, spine, and it's doubling up here because I've got it in 2 different locations, but don't need it on that one. I'll just take it off of one of them. It works. But you get a response to what part of the body you hit. And if you come over here and you shoot somebody in the leg, do enough damage to that body part, you can then set it up to where if you shoot somebody in the leg falls off, or the head falls off, or the arm falls off, or whatever, you know. Should change that from pelvis to penis. But with that, if you hit a wall, it's none. Like I said, just screwing around. I usually open up the Wednesday night at 9 p.m. I just open it up for people to come in, ask questions, whatever. Just kind of screwing around. There's no definite, defined, this is what I'm going to be doing. You know, this is what I'm doing while I'm doing this, but, you know, if people come in, they ask questions, cool. If they don't, whatever. I'll just sit here and just fiddle fart around until somebody comes in and does something. And it'd probably be best if you're going to do this, is if you actually do a cast 2 character and run it off a cast 2 character. That way, if you're already setting up something here like apply damage, the reason why I'm not doing that to a character is because I may want to destroy destructible mesh. But like with that the hit bone name, put that on there, like get the socket, and that's something I'll play around with later on. Is and I've done it once before, probably about 6 months ago. It's actually getting the oh god, you got to do it in the messing with physics and all that shit. So, but you actually are breaking the actual joint between them. Like if you shoot somebody in the lower arm, then it breaks it off here, and the lower arm falls to the ground. Shit like that, you know. But it's been probably a year since I've done that. I think what I'll do is probably get out of the stream here and fiddle with my nuts. Yeah, I got 3-pound bag of friggin' walnuts, so I'll be fiddling with my nuts all evening. And no, I'm not going to eat 3 pounds in one sitting, but I got another 3-pound bag of pecans as well, so I have to separate those guys, and you know, I got 2 big old sacks of nuts, and you know, I need to separate them, make little small bags of nuts. Yeah, I'm using 2 basic animation blueprints right now, just simply because I'm using one for unarmed and one for armed. And the thing is using these animation starter pack animations, damn things are going to give you your aim spaces if you set it up and use their shit. And I probably should, because you know that's fine, but they're only set up and running off of the hip fire. So when you want to actually go to a different aim style, like aim down sights, you got to set up that animation blend space, and I don't know, it's just not sure which way is best overall. I'm like this also on gaming, and in real life, if you're going to be running and gunning, you're just as best off to be in a hip fire. And if you want to take aimed fire, you're not going to be running and doing aimed fire at the same time. Even if you bring your weapon up to your line of sight as you're running, you're going to be bouncing all over the fucking place, and you're not going to be accurately shot any damn way. Yeah, that's why for now, that's why I've been going with the camera system in the line trace, is because Doing it this way, and I know you don't like it, but the way I got my camera set, and I'll change the camera later, but I'm running it off of my FPS camera, and the actual spawn location for the line trace is from a scene component that's in front of the character. So if I turn on my line traces again and shoot and then come back out of that mode, you can see that it spawns like 8 inches in front of the player's face. And that just gives you the spawning point is going to be dead center on the camera. So whenever you create a widget, like for a scope or for crosshairs, you're dead on. It doesn't really matter. Right now, especially, I'm in scopes mode, I can't see my animation. That animation is only there for other people to see. Oh, well, he's zoomed in, you know, you replicate that. So, okay, he's zoomed in, so if he's zoomed in, I can sneak up on his ass from the side. He's not going to see shit. So you come out of the scope mode and go back to your regular mode. At least you have a little bit more field of view. And then you can get back to shooting and do your thing. But, and a lot of people think of the line trace as specifically being for shooting combat, and it doesn't have to necessarily be shooting. You could use that for object placement. So as you're sitting there looking around, you set up, you know, a system for a cursor so you can see where you're aiming, and when you actually, instead of firing a weapon and making noise and emitters and shit like that, you can spawn an actor. You can, that actor doesn't have to be a projectile either. You know, that projectile, you know, if I try to use a line trace for a projectile, it's not going to have a drop to it, and it's always going to be laser accurate every friggin' time. It's going to go exactly where your crosshairs are. You can't use that system for setting up drop. So, you know, if you're running around and, you know, you got your weapon out and you're shooting this way, you're not getting an exact point of aim. If you put a crosshair in, it tends to be above the shoulder or whatever else, and the center of your screen is based on where your camera's looking. And so that's just why I like going to a first-person view for combat mode, because now you don't have to worry about it. You're able to see. You don't have a character that's blocking your view and shit like that. And I hate games that have third person and shooting at the same time, because it's too easy for someone to walk over to a freaking wall and it's like, shit, I'll just throw a wall in here, I don't care. And when they're actually in here playing, they come over and they can use third person mode, and they can peek around the walls and see what the hell's going on, see whether or not they want to get their gun out and shoot. If you're going to do it, you might as well do a lean left, lean right. You know, if you're going to expose yourself to shoot, you need to be friggin' exposed. So I can't stand games that allow you to be in first or third person mode and shoot. And there's a lot of them out there. So, yeah, I mean, these guys don't walk around. I haven't given them any walk around logic or anything like that. They just, I've never seen that before. In the I know it's kind of hard to see because my beautiful face is in the way, but in the world outliner, while I'm in play mode, it still shows deleted actor. Normally it says deleted actor and then it just despawns out of the list, but it's staying in the list for some reason. I mean, the actors are coming out. It's down to 35 now, and the actors are actually gone, but I've got a long list of it saying deleted actor. I've never seen it do that before. You know, of course, you come back out of it, and then you go back in here and play again. You see you've got 45 actors. You go into combat mode and kill one and despawn. There you go. 43 actors. It's showing 2 actors for each of these guys here. It's showing 2 deleted actors. Maybe I've just never noticed it before while I was in play mode, but, you know, I've never seen that before. Oh, God, no. Yeah, I don't upgrade to the latest, newest, greatest versions of Unreal Engine 4 until, like, if 421.0 is out. I'm going to wait until 421.2 and then probably go over to it. But for right now, my plugins are still set for, and the plugins are available for 421, but I'm still using the plugins, and this template here for the multiplayer stuff is actually running off of 420. So that's why I haven't changed yet, because I'm just being lazy, and then I have to update my multiplayer template, and then, yeah, pure laziness. But I'm going to keep upgrading. You know, I know shit works, and, you know, I know things are going to be broken, and I know that it may not be perfect, but I've gotten rid of all my other versions, and I'm only running 420.3 right now. So when I decide I'm going to do 421, then I'm going to delete this version completely. I'm going to uninstall the Epic Launcher. I'm going to uninstall Unreal Engine 4. I'm going to uninstall everything. I'm not going to delete all my projects. I'm actually going to archive all of my projects and then make sure that there's nothing in the Epic Games folder whatsoever. I don't even want an Epic Games folder on my hard drive. I start from scratch, fully, completely, because, well, other than already having like Visual Basic or Visual Studios installed, which is a required thing for packaging stuff, other than having that already pre-installed, I want to basically, if you don't know anything about game editing and you just found out about Unreal Engine 4 today, and you go download Unreal Engine 4 today, you're going to get the latest, greatest version that's available on the website, which is 421. So I will put myself in those shoes and install 421 and have nothing else installed, just so it's the same as if you're a brand new player, except for the fact that I've already got Visual Studio installed. So, Juno, it's just that kind of stuff. Let's go ahead and, just because I'm weird about the shit like that. I'm just weird about every damn thing. I like being weird. Weird is good. Although I will probably regret going to 421. Yeah, don't ask me why I'm doing all this shit. I'm just, like I said, it's wind down time. I usually only do these for an hour, and this is right at the hour and a half mark, so I'm just fiddle farting around in case anybody else popped in and had a question or whatever. So essentially what this is going to be is it's going to be my testing grounds. Yeah, I would imagine it probably will, because it seems like Epic is not giving a shit about what's that, buddy? I ain't seen you in a while. They're giving less and less a shit about the damn wind's picking up. Making noise on the door out there. They're caring more and more about making sure that their shit works for Fart Night, and giving less a shit about the people who are actually you know, working with stuff and actually trying to do their own games. They're tapering the game engine based on that. Yeah, like I said, I'll wait until like 0.1 or 0.2 comes out, and then I'll probably go over to it. But I think 417 was my. I think it was pretty stable. It did everything that I needed, and I didn't have any problems at all doing anything. Well, I had lots of problems with 417, but that's just because I'm stupid. But I didn't have any problems with the software. It was my inability to actually work with it. Yeah, like I said, this project right here is going to be my test bed, so I'm going to keep refining. Oh, not me. I never upgrade on day one. So I'll keep refining this shooter template system. It works with my multiplayer, my Steam multiplayer template that I use for everything, and I'll keep refining this and refining it and refining it, trying to get the shooting system the way that I like it, and 415 was good and stable. And honestly, most of the stuff they've added to Unreal Engine 4 since 415, I have no use for whatsoever. Not yet, at least. Niagara. I can't even properly spell Niagara, much less use the shit that it brought in. The stuff that it brought in, phenomenal if you know how to use it. But I don't know how to use it. I don't care. I don't need it in my life right now, so I'm not learning it. The radio station stuff, the video player stuff, yeah, that was important to me, believe it or not, and I needed it to work. Wish there was a way I could actually go back into, because then whenever you look at the editor or the launcher, you've got the this version right here, and click on install a new version. It's only going to show me 420. Unless I actually go to the GitHub source and look for an older version and compile my own version, how the hell am I going to go back to 415 or 417? I'm not worried about it because, like I said, I still want to keep myself in a perspective of a new person that's learning how to do stuff, and they're not going to be using 415. They're going to be using whatever is currently on the website. I think one of the things I'll do here in a little while is, since I'm using this temporary system for, the shooting stuff, yeah, pretty much. Let's actually go ahead and save all, and I've got most of the bugs worked out of the sitting stuff, where I was having constant problems with the frickin' sit-down animation stuff with replication. One problem after another, and I've got it mostly worked out. I haven't noticed any problems. Oh, okay. I just hadn't explored the option because it's never really been a thing for me. I think about going back to 417 or 415 or stuff like that, but I just keep in my perspective. So this is one, was doing for the sound test. And one of the important things is, being able to do this. There's nothing much more important than being able to do that. Hitting the number 2 key and, you're doing a stupid dance, throwing money up in the air, making it rain, spawn a little bit of music with attenuations and replications. So other people walking around can see you looking like a jackass doing the dance, throwing money in the air, and hear your music if they get close enough. It's a real tight sound attenuation on it. Then you got your medic over here. And of course you got your stereo system. Play music. Skip track to next. Next. You can pause. Play. You can exit the menu, or you can hit 3 to exit the menu. Yeah. But the sit down stuff was being really a pain in the ass. Check it, baby. So the actual sit down thing that I'm doing, and I don't know if you noticed there, I'm still just about got the animations right. The root was just in the wrong spot, and so the stand-up animation was causing your character to slide forward and then back as you're trying to get up. But I'm just about got it where it's right. The actual sit-down thing itself, got the gadgets. I mean, you could have. I had this one that I started off with as the base for my chair, but now if I want to go ahead and put in, I can't put the TV in because that's playing a dedicated video on it right now that's got copyright issues. I was doing. I was going to grab a chair. Grab anything. I mean, you grab a cube, drop it into the map, and if you want to sit down on this cube, essentially, you can just go in here, grab the sitting base, which is just that, and now you can sit down pretty much on anything. Just drag it over to where you want to go, and you set the box collision height to be roughly the same height as where you want to sit down on. So now whenever you go into it and you want to sit, walk over here and now you can sit down on it. You can put that on any object that's sitting there. So park benches, you can have multiple sitting side by side. Doesn't matter, it works fine. And you go to get up. And it's the collision issues. You can see whenever you're by some the mesh is screwed up, and it's the collision of the object you're sitting on is what also causes. See, like that was smooth, well, for the most part. I didn't have any issues with the animation of it actually getting up and sliding forward and sliding back, but there's still some collision issues with it. So, but I thought it was cool. You can just set it up this way, and you could sit on anything you want as long as you line up the that thing the way that I've got it. And the medic is pretty much set up to where, and it's not going to stay this way, but if you're actually dead, he will come over, revive you, and then walk away and go back to his little base area. But yeah, that's, I actually grabbed the replication. Let's do 2 players, a new pie, and this is the client. Grab the server. Doesn't matter, you can't see what I'm doing with the server. I'm just gonna have him sit down, and then you can watch the client come over here and sit down in a chair. It's all working. So the client, get back up, come over here, have a seat. Just going around my butthole to get to my elbow to set up things the way that I want it to, and the Make It Rain emote is replicating just fine. However, I don't have combat set up in here yet, or else I'd kill this bastard for doing that. Die, die, die. But you can dance, You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. So yeah, everything's working good. And then also the client can come over here and activate the radio, play music. So now the server. So the server can actually stop dancing, you asshole. Can actually hear the music, the same replication. Now anybody, it doesn't matter if you're the client, you have access to the radio. And then you can close the menu. But the server can also come back in here and have access to the pause, play, next, previous, or you just hit play music again. It'll restart the first song in the playlist. You can hit next. Hit F3, close the window, or use your mouse to close it. So everything's working right here in this project for the replication and that kind of stuff.
Remember days you hold my hand, walk the streets, you the man. Did you know those days are gone?
So I've got a lot of the little bugs worked out of this one.
There was a time I was alone, no help.
I hadn't checked the this stuff here. Yeah, let me.
Once upon a time, a little rhyme blew my mind. It was a hard.
Alright, so let's just do this so I can have both of them up here at the same time. So, server. So there we go. We got the client in place here. Server gets damaged. Bot comes over, heals him up. Client gets damaged, and yeah. I just started working on this, and I didn't set up replication in it, but so you can see that the player is actually injured in the client, and the guy's not coming to help. Now he's dead. And of course, I haven't set up death animations because I don't care. But I'll replicate this. All that matters is the server's healed up good. I don't care if this guy's, all that matters is me, the server. I'm the only important person here. Alright, so our player's dead, but, so that, now see, occasionally it will still do that. And I don't know why. But it's only the client that does it, not the server. But that time, it's perfect. The rotation's right, everything else is right, but occasionally it just sits awkward and sits above it. And yeah, I could probably move the box collision a little bit so that it would avoid that. But then again, by setting it the way I've got it, it works. It's working good enough, and I'm not going to keep screwing with it, and I'm not going to waste any more days on setting up sit-down animations and stand up. So we're good. Looks good enough for me. And like I said, the sit-down thing, I wasted so much time getting this shit working just right. I can set it up to sit down anywhere that I want. Alright, I'm going to get out of here. We're 43 minutes past my normal kill time. So, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for stopping by. And I'll be in and out of Discord for a while. I'm going to play with my nuts a little bit. Because, having 3 pounds of walnuts and 3 pounds of pecans, like I said, I want to mix them up and yeah, mix and match, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be playing with my nuts, my walnuts. All right, guys, we'll see you